Hello, and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Friday, 24 January. I'm your host Daniel, and let's get into the brief. Today, we'll be covering a teen has been arrested over an alleged plan to attack a mosque in Brussels. M23 Rebels are advancing towards Goma in the DRC. And Reporters Without Borders have filed an ICC complaint against Lukashenko. So firstly, a 14-year-old Belgium, suspected of having extreme far-right views, has been arrested for allegedly planning a terrorist attack against a mosque. The arrest followed a tip-off which led to a dawn raid on the teenager's home, where weapons were seized. The suspect, who was expected to be placed in a youth detention facility, was accused of preparing a terrorist attack. Belgium's Justice Minister confirmed the suspect's age and highlighted the concerns over the radicalisation of minors. The Intelligence Service annual report revealed that almost one-third of people believed to have planned attacks in the past 2 years were under the age of 18, with radicalisation processes developing more quickly than in the past. The Justice Minister also pointed out the dangers of minors being brainwashed via social media. Currently, around 600 people are listed as extremists and are being monitored by the Belgian authorities. So what? Sadly, it is likely that there is going to be a rise in far-right extremism within youth over the short to medium term due to online radicalisation, the rhetoric online, and growing discontent against migration. Governments and security services around the globe will likely need to balance the need for freedom of speech, privacy, and the need to counter online radicalisation, hate speech, and misinformation. Additionally, it is likely that they will need to increase their collection capabilities against far-right groups, including Humint, Osint, and possibly SIGINT as required. Next, in the eastern DRC, panic has taken over in Goma as the M23 rebels are advancing towards the city. The Congolese military, along with helicopter gunships, have moved to halt the rebel advance after they captured several towns. The town of Sake, just 27 kilometers from Goma, has fallen to the rebels. Goma is home to around 2 million people and is a critical hub for security and humanitarian efforts in the region. The ongoing conflict in this mineral-rich region has resulted in one of the largest humanitarian crises the world has ever seen, displacing over 7 million people. The M23 rebels, primarily ethnic Tutsis, who broke away from the Congolese army, have made significant gains. The UN Secretary General has expressed deep concern, condemning the resumed hostilities and warning that the violence heightens the risk of a broader regional war. Schools in Goma have been closed and children have been sent home as the city prepares for further conflict. So what? Firstly, it is interesting to see the DRC employing helicopter gunships, and I wonder how effective they will be in a jungle environment. It seems likely that the DRC have been relying heavily on Russia for their security assistance, particularly from Africa Corp, who were previously known as Wagner. However, due to the loss of airfields in Syria, it is likely that Africa Corps are currently lacking significant resources. This likely has a flow-on effect for the DRC defensive effort, possibly leading to M23's gains. Additionally, it is highly unlikely that the DRC would reach out to Western nations for support due to their colonial past. And lastly, Reporters Without Borders has filed a complaint with the ICC against Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko for his crimes against humanity. This action comes just 2 days before an election in which Lukashenko is expected to extend his 31-year rule. RSF has documented systematic persecution of independent voices, particularly journalists, with 397 media professionals arbitrarily arrested since August 2020. The head of RSF's Eastern Europe desk has emphasised the need to combat impunity and called on the ICC prosecutor Karim Khan, who we spoke about yesterday, to investigate and persecute people who are responsible. The crackdown on opposition voices intensified following the contested 2020 presidential election, with thousands imprisoned for participating in mass protests against the Lukashenko regime. Allegations of torture in Belarusian jails and prison camps has also been reported, and all opposition figures have either been incarcerated or currently live in exile. The crackdown has also extended to civil society and media, with at least 43 journalists still behind bars. Meanwhile, state media reports that Lukashenko has recently pardoned 15 prisoners, including some convicted of extremist activity and drug trafficking. So what? It is almost certain that Lukashenko's regime uses fear, threats, and violence to control journalists within Belarus. This approach has likely intensified in recent years, especially following the protests in 2020 and Russia's war in Ukraine. As discussed yesterday, it is possible that the ICC could pursue charges against Lukashenko, potentially to enhance their public image and rebuild trust in the organisation. However, it is unlikely that Lukashenko will reduce his oppressive tactics in response to the possibility of facing charges at the ICC. Thank you for tuning in to the Intel Brief, your daily update on global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. You can support the show by sharing it with your friends and leaving us a 5-star review. And if you're curious to learn more about intelligence, you can check out one of our courses in the description below. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you next time.